Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I wanted to talk about, as always, are my kind of special topics, if you will, that I just find are very informative for the average player that just may not be privy to this information. So, today we're going to touch on how to reduce drama within your kingdom and increase overall development. And this can be things such as individual player development, it can be alliance, or even just overall kingdom development, where things are going what we would consider to be in a kind of positive or net positive direction. And so there's a couple areas that really define this, but we're going to start with what I think is probably, and there's a couple, but we'll start with the most important one that I find, which really is, in general, communication. So to me, and this may seem very broad to most, but I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I mean by just having good, healthy communication. So if you're starting out in the kingdom, one of the most important things you can really do is to reach out to people, especially if you're a lead or an officer and you're someone who's kind of in charge of, doing the diplomacy with other alliances that are either nearby or even in adjacent Zone 1 regions. By taking time to connect with people, to reach out to them, to find out, well, hey, what are your intentions? Are you looking to do this? Are you looking to do that? What are your hopes? Do you just want, a behemoth or two and your guys just want a little corner and you're just going to kind of play it out, not really too worried about advancing on the map? If you do not have information, which is also a form of communicating to gather information, it can really make it more difficult or challenging for you to know exactly what you need to do on the map. As far as when it even comes to alliance movement, if you're a player and maybe you have no idea that your alliance is not interested in advancing and you're playing somewhere where you're thinking to yourself, especially if you're a new player, well, what's going on? Or maybe you just think this is normal, right? Because you may not know what you don't know. So communicating, and again, as I mentioned, this can be in the form of, if you're an alliance, communicating with another alliance. If you're a player, that's communicating within your alliance to your officers, to your leaders, to kind of find out, well, hey, what's kind of the end goal? Are we looking to advance? Are we not looking to advance? Do I need to maybe consider going to find another alliance? Not to say that we just need to all kind of do the pyramid ladder climb and try to get into the number one alliance, because that is somewhat very detrimental. It can be and usually is very detrimental. But when it comes to you figuring these things out, communication is incredibly important. Now, when we're talking about things like due diligence, right? This to me is a big one, because with due diligence is number two, most of the time this requires more than just your type of introductory greeting, or you reaching out or connecting with someone, or something coming your way for information and you're just kind of taking it at face value, right? Don't be gullible in these cases. Doing your due diligence and making sure that you are verifying information, vetting people that are coming in, especially if you might be a little weary. Take time to do those things, especially if it can save you essentially creating an extra hurdle for yourself that wasn't originally there. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. One example is in the form of, well, what happens if a player says, well, okay, well, I was just over in this alliance, I just came from this alliance, and all these guys want to do is attack you. Okay, well, do you just immediately assume that, okay, well, we're just kind of eventually going to go to war with these people, and that's it, and you're just never going to go and connect with them? No, right? Remember, take almost everything someone tells you with a grain of salt, unless they are providing proactive screenshots or some type of supportive evidence, or even, and this is probably the lesser one, but if you've known someone for a long period of time and you know that they're, have a consistent track record of being honest and truthful, right? Again, it's always nice still, no matter what, as a kind of final, to have this either corroborated by multiple people that are kind of from different backgrounds, different positions, so it doesn't feel as though they're just kind of megaphone affecting their own selves, if you will. Or if you actually get some information that's provided to you that it's, oh, well, hey, here's a screenshot, or here's something that was translated, etc. Applying a level of healthy due diligence can actually help you avoid a lot of unnecessary situations. Now, when we talk about the other side of, well, if it's kind of a he said, she said, where it's, someone says, well, hey, you shouldn't, you shouldn't have this player join. They were a part of this other alliance and all they did was just cause havoc, right? But maybe they haven't done anything yet, right? Maybe there was a moment where they actually were being, maybe, let's say, for example, they were being toxic in another alliance. They realized quickly that type of attitude and the way that they go about communicating and conversating with people is just not going to work, or it's just not something that is either allowed or people I don't want to say respect, but that people would favor. And so they think to themselves, okay, well, I'm probably not going to be able to talk this way, or maybe it's just not right for this person to talk this way. However they come to their own conclusion, they decide, you know what, I'm not going to talk in this way anymore when I join a new alliance. I'm going to either change up my attitude, or I'm just going to not speak in that way to people anymore. It's very easy for that mentality, or for that to carry over from one alliance to another. This is something I've seen happen firsthand. And, I can count a handful of people that I have played with over the years, even as recent as Kingdom 65, where I did a project there for Call of Dragons. And you will have situations that can and will arise where you have players that will just, again, they act a certain way, they have a certain demeanor, a certain way they carry themselves, a certain way they go about talking with people. Again, maybe some people are curt, a little more blunt, maybe they're rough around the edges, whatever it may be. It doesn't mean that is the only way they're able to act. It doesn't mean that they're unable to grow and to develop and to mature in some ways, or to maybe just adapt to a specific or a current environment. And it doesn't mean that they're always going to act in a way that they have before. Now, yes, if there's consistency that is there from one alliance to another, they've gone through 3 or 4 or 5 alliances, they've been kicked out of all of those, then okay, right, you're kind of developing a track record that's a little easier to say, well, okay, hey, here's the blueprint or here's the road, the path that you're laying out for us. But if it's kind of a 1 or 2 instance thing, and obviously it depends on the severity and things like that, but try to keep in mind when you're doing due diligence that don't just kind of be gullible and assume that this is the way that it's going to be forever and ever to the end of time. Next one I have for you, which is number 3, is, and this one is, to me, is just kind of coming in with a game plan. I think that if you come in with a game plan as either a group of players, you're leading an alliance, you will find that you will reduce the overall kind of margin of error or uncertainty that can happen, which again leads into building a healthier culture, whether that's an alliance, if it's multiple alliances, if it's a kingdom, even if it's a small group of players. And because you're doing these things, you can, and most likely will, inherently reduce any type of just drama that's kind of plaguing or is just around, because you're not doing things in some type of an ad hoc or discombobulated way. Number 4 for me is, if you go in, and usually this is the one I like to really, this is like the number 1 thing for me, because it doesn't mean that it's the one that is, just makes everything else pointless, but it's the biggest factor for me that I have learned over my time, which is, coming with the biggest stick, essentially. And it doesn't mean that you have to use that stick in a unimpeded or in an aggressive or an ill-intended way, I should say. But when you come in with a large group, right, having, let's say, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 alliances, and you have kind of majority presence in a kingdom, this is probably, in my view, the biggest deterrent, if you will. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But it is the biggest kind of, okay, well, we're not really going to mess with them because they have all, this many players, they have this many alliances. It's a big uphill battle, right? I should say in most cases, right? In what I would consider to be like 99% of cases, it is viewed as an uphill battle, and it usually will dissuade other alliances or other players from trying to kind of make plays here and there, right? Because there's so much backing and so much support within the group that they can apply to any region, and even more so once you start advancing into further zones. So being able to do that allows for you to do something like enact a structure, enact some type of, I don't want to say hierarchy, but some type of game plan, some type of standards, goals, expectations across the kingdom for being able to allow for something to really blossom in its development, whether, again, that be an individual, an alliance, or a kingdom as a whole. And that in and of itself can really reduce, probably has the highest chances of reducing the most amount of potential drama that can occur. And I can tell you from my time when we were in 65, or I should say my time, when our project was still active in 65, there really wasn't a lot of drama. Like, I'm talking big stuff, right? Most of our drama, if anything, was very small and internal when it came to, players either just, lately wanting to play with friends, or maybe didn't notify someone in the beginning, or some new players joined and they wanted to go here or there, trying to climb some ladders, so to speak. And in most parts, right, that was really kind of the bulk of it. You didn't really there really weren't any kind of civil war threats that were incredibly big early on. You didn't see things that were really popping off between alliances in Zone 1. I mean, sure, there were some skirmishes here and there, but nothing that would have essentially kind of killed a kingdom, within the first week or two. And so those are some of what I find to be kind of general benefits. But again, it also depends on how those groups decide to kind of, govern themselves. For me and projects that I do, it's typically more focused on player development, right? Creating an environment where players can develop and progress their accounts in the fastest way possible throughout the entire season. And then we just do kind of fun, organized PvP war games, if you will. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Number 5 for me is going to be, and I loosely mentioned this, so this could maybe be 4.5, but creating situations where you have deterrence, right? Where you are deterring people away from involving or trying to get invested or start drama, or to go out and attack people and kind of cause chaos. Trying to develop certain, I don't want to say practices, but certain standards that you can have, realistic expectations in your kingdom, in your small group, in your alliance, that can once again deter people away from wanting to do things or to start something in an ill-intended way. And that comes from being prepared. It comes from putting things in place that will passively deter people away from getting involved in those things. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be you going out there and like flexing yourself. Sometimes it can be sometimes you can avoid those situations, or you can avoid those instances from the situation that you've created, right? And so that to me would be number 5, which is, again, trying to find out ways to be a deterrent or to find deterrents where you can avoid the kind of unnecessary drama that may occur or could occur. The last one for me is number 6. Number 6 is soft skills. This is what I would argue probably the second most important thing within maybe just the general online video game space, but definitely within the Kingdom Builder genre, and specifically within Call of Dragons, right behind coming in with a large enough group. The fact is that, I'm going to be honest, man, some of y'all just do not know how to talk to other human beings. It's interesting. I'll say that in the least. But the reason why this to me is such a focal point is because I can tell you, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this as well in your own right, more than a handful of times, more than a healthy handful of times, I have seen wars started just because someone name called someone else. Just because someone said that, oh, well, you're weak, right? Or, your alliance isn't that organized. And I'm talking simple stuff, just like that. That wasn't, them necessarily using derogatory language or, talking about someone's mama or someone's girlfriend or boyfriend. I mean, it's soft skills, such an important, which again, in short, is just, it's the way that we talk to people. And if you're talking about trying to reduce drama and increase the opportunities for more and better overall development within your group, within your alliance, and or within your kingdom, having good soft skills in the way that you speak to people and knowing how to talk to people is vastly, vastly underrated, but important. And I can guarantee you that if more people invested in soft skills or just took time to really think before they spoke to people, or even better yet, putting the right people in the right positions that are good at speaking to people and have some soft skills, that could probably have deterred wars from happening, unnecessary fights from happening, players being kicked from alliances or players being zeroed, right? Or alliances not being given the chance to go to future zones. I mean, anything and everything, you kind of, pick your poison at that point. But this is such a impactful area that goes in, and this is something that's kind of more external, right? This isn't really something that it's not a feature in the game, right? We're talking about how you as an individual are able to speak and communicate with another individual that has nothing ultimately really to do with the game. It's about how you speak and the words you use and the tone you have with people, how you string and you formulate sentences. These are, once again, some of the most important areas that factor in. They do factor into the game, but they are essentially external from the game. So yeah, it's wild. I mean, I could probably do a whole TED Talk on just how to actually speak to people appropriately. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Those are my kind of 6 points on essentially reducing drama overall, whether, like I said, that's within your small immediate group, within your alliance, and or within your kingdom. What I would love to ask now is for those of you, and I'm sure there's some stories out there, if you have some examples, situations that have happened to you, whether they're happening now, they've happened to you in your past, whether it's been in Call of Dragons or in another kingdom builder, I would love to know from you, what was something that happened to you that caused unnecessary drama, and or the opposite of that, which is maybe a situation that you can tell us where a situation was handled well, it reduced the drama and allowed for players to progress their accounts and their cities in a healthy or healthier way, maybe if so, compared to what was currently being done. So I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments down below. That is going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later.